Welcome to the iPad Possibilities Podcast. Episode number 3. The iPad iPhone. Well, welcome, and this is the iPad Possibilities Podcast. I'm Tim, and I'm your host of this week's show. And this week, I'm going to be covering a topic that is of great interest to me, and that is using your iPad as a phone and using Skype as the means of doing that. So let me first quickly describe the vision I have for this. I envision getting an iPad 3G version and using that data connection through AT&T for either $30 a month or $15 a month as your access to all your phone and communications usage. Using that data connection and sharing that with other devices, such as your iPhone or computers or whatnot, to make calls on other devices as well as needed. And I envision having Skype running on the iPad in the background at all times and a headset connected to it, so you're able to answer very easily. And you have a Skype in number so people can actually call you as a regular number. They won't know the difference. And using the iPad as a phone. I think this is a great opportunity for those that are, quite frankly, not a big fan of the high charges that cell phone companies provide to its users, and bypassing that whole system by using the data connection for all your fees that you need. So that is the vision that I have for Skype and the iPad as a phone replacement. And I'll get into the details in just a moment. Well, the first question you'd probably have in switching over to an iPad iPhone is, what is Skype and how to think about what Skype is. Skype, in its simplest terms, is a phone replacement. You can ditch AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, whoever your carrier is, and use Skype as your new carrier for all your voice communications. And that is saying a lot, because the pricing of Skype makes it very appealing. For $66 a year, you can have access to unlimited voice, unlimited minutes, unlimited access with your own phone number for just $60 a year. Now the only thing you need is an access to internet to be able to use those minutes and that voice connection. Now with the iPad at $30 a month for unlimited data, you can shave off a significant portion of what you're spending on just simply talking to people on the phone. Now there is also SMS involved with Skype. It's kind of a basic SMS and I would not really recommend it for your SMS usage. It's 11 cents per text message, and it's kind of pricey with that. And you also only have SMS out. There's no way to send SMS in, but with Google Voice, there is a solution, and I'll describe my solution and the way I'm currently using my phone in a few minutes with Google Voice and Skype, because they do integrate very nicely together. If you figure it out. It took me a little while to figure it out, but it's pretty simple once you do figure it out. Now with Skype, as a subscription service, it includes voicemail. So if people call your Skype number, they'll leave a voicemail as they would on any other device. And with the subscription, you get $30 off your Skype number, which makes it only $30, and you get unlimited voice. So basically for $60 a year, $66 a year, you have access to unlimited voice with your own voicemail, your own number. And for non-subscription service, if you want to go that route, it is 2 cents per minute, which is about 476 minutes per $10 Skype credit. So you get a significant amount of minutes, but the downside is the voice number is now $60, so it kind of defeats the purpose. A subscription is really the way to go cost-wise. Now, without a subscription, voicemail is also $20 per year if you'd like to have a voicemail set up with that. but voicemail is not really required if you integrate it with Google Voice, which it does very nicely. And it's available. Skype is available on many platforms, which makes it so appealing to so many people. It's available on Windows, Mac OS X, Linux, Windows Mobile, the PSP, the iPhone, Nokia, Wi-Fi phones, cordless phones, the 3 Skype phone, which is the official Skype phone in Australia, Italy, Hong Kong, Sweden, Denmark, Austria, and Ireland. And Skype Lite is available on Android, Nokia, Samsung, Motorola, LG, Sony Ericsson, and those uses cell phone minutes, so it's kind of a limited version of Skype. So that's kind of an overview of what Skype is. Skype is a replacement to AT&T for all your access to communicate with people. And you simply need an internet connection to use that access, and you're off and running with your own number and access to call other people via Skype. Now, there are going to be some limitations to Skype and what you can do with it. The first limitation, and the major limitation, is SMS. It doesn't use a true SMS, so some services don't recognize the messages you send out of it. And also, the pricing is very expensive for SMS at 11 cents a text. And also, you can't have SMS in, so that's kind of a deal breaker for many. Now, that's the major limitation of Skype. The other limitations are sound quality is really dependent on your internet connection, and so you'll need a good connection to get good Skype calls. So that's the other limitation. So now I'm going to take a few minutes to kind of describe my current setup that I've been testing out for a few weeks as I've been seeing if this would actually work, the iPad iPhone. I've been testing this out using the iPhone and its data connection. And the plus side is when the iPad comes out, the cost per month will drop significantly, as the minimum cost to entry is $70 a month using AT&T's access. And with the iPad, the maximum cost will be $30 a month, with the low end at $15 a month. So I've been testing this out, and I'll share my experiences with you so far. I'm currently using Google Voice as my main phone number. I've got Google Voice set up, and I've got it set up linking to my Skype number. And it's currently not set up to link with my regular AT&T line, just to see how this would all work. So I'm using that single Google Voice number that you can get by requesting an invite, and you should be able to get one fairly quickly. They're sending them out now. So I've got Google Voice forwarding to my Skype number, and I use on my jailbroken iPhone an application called GV Mobile. I've got the Plus version on a jailbroken iPhone to make calls out of that application. And what that will do, I'll be able to access all my contacts and whatnot. It's basically a phone and messaging replacement for the iPhone. It replaces both the phone app and the messaging app on the iPhone. And that will enable you to do SMS out of Google Voice on the iPhone, free of charge, just using a data connection. And it'll also enable you to make calls via Skype. You'll be able to select the phone you want to ring, and you simply select the Skype phone, and it will call your Skype number. So you close that app, the GV mobile app, and launch Skype, and you simply answer the call, and it directs you to whoever you're trying to call. And why you want to go through GV mobile is now it will display your Google Voice number and not your Skype number. So with that, you're able to use a single number through Google Voice to call anybody. And you'll also have the Google Voice advantages of free SMS messages in and out. And you'll also have the advantage of transcribed voicemails, which is a huge plus. And you'll also have some extra benefits of just using Google Voice. It's a great service I'd recommend looking into. And for receiving SMS messages, it's great because I can have GV Mobile closed, and I have email notifications whenever I get a text, and I'm simply able to launch GV Mobile and reply to those text messages very quickly. And I'm able to, on my jailbroken iPhone, to run Skype in the background, using an app called Backgrounder, which works very well. And I'm also able to run it on the 3G network to kind of test out what that experience is going to be like. And so far, it's been great. I've been able to receive calls. I've been able to make calls out. I've been able to do text messaging, all without AT&T, except for that data connection, which when the iPad comes out will be reduced to $30 a month. So it's been a great solution so far, and I can recommend it. I mean, it's been working for me. And if you really want to get rid of that $40, $50, even $60 a month on access to phone usage, this may be the way to go. Now, your next question may be is how does the iPad integrate with all this? As I've discussed earlier, the greatest plus with the iPad is the pricing for its data. There's nothing like it, nothing even close. I've been looking into alternatives for data connections, and this is the best solution. At $30 a month for unlimited data over AT&T's network, or $15 a month for 250 megabytes, it is really low cost. If you compare it with other options, for example, Verizon, you can get a MiFi, and for $40 a month, you get 250 megabytes of data, or for $60 a month, you get a 5 gigabyte limit for data. So it's really almost double for the services. For $60, that's kind of comparable to the $30 unlimited, and the $40 is comparable to the $15 on the iPad. So those are it really doesn't help you at $60 a month for unlimited data, because you could simply get an iPhone at $70 a month and be using regular phone minutes. So with the iPad, the pricing on that really is compelling to switch over and really cut some costs in what you're spending on your phone usage. I'll be running down the numbers later on in this podcast to simply show you the staggering amount of money you have the potential to save by switching over. So those are the rates of the iPad versus Verizon, and the Verizon rates are pretty comparable to other rates you'll find out there. And another thing I found pretty interesting is there's a couple of different MiFis that are compatible with AT&T's network. The most widely available one is the MiFi 2352. There's also the 2372, but the 2352 is compatible with AT&T's network. So what you'll be able to do if you've ordered that device, you'll have to order it from Europe because it's currently not sold in the United States, but it can be had for around $200 to $300. And with that, you're able to pop out your SIM card from your iPhone and simply put your SIM card in that MiFi. And what that MiFi will do is share that data connection as a wireless hotspot. Wherever you go, you'll have wireless access. So this may be a solution to getting access to your other devices. And I'm sure with the micro SIM used in the iPad, you'll actually be able to use that in this MiFi as well, because from my research, you're actually able to simply convert it to a regular SIM card. The electronics behind the micro SIM and the SIM are identical, so it should be very simple and very easy to convert that and use that MiFi with the micro SIM in the iPad. So for $30 a month, you'd be using a MiFi, have access to internet on all your devices, and making calls on Skype with all your devices, which is pretty incredible. And another thing I'd like to talk about relating to the iPad and the iPhone is the operating system. Now, come June, operating system 4.0 will be made available. And one of the big features I believe that will be there, it hasn't been announced yet, but I believe background applications will finally be on the iPhone operating system. And why this is big for Skype usage is you could be having Skype running in the background all the time. And when you get calls, your phone will vibrate. It'll make the phone sound, whatever you have that set to. And it will feel like you just have a regular phone and you open up Skype to answer your calls. And this is what I've been doing on my jailbroken iPhone 3G for the past week or so. And it's been working great. And another topic that I'd like to simply discuss is what you can do on a jailbroken iPhone or iPad to share your internet. There is an application called the MyWi, which is basically an application version of the MiFi. And this will share your internet connection to other devices using a 3G data connection. And I could see in the future a jailbroken iPad sharing out that data with MyWi to other devices for just $30 a month. And you'll be able to access that data on all your devices. So this is the most compelling thing. The $30 a month for data and sharing that data out with your other devices. You'll be able to share that out with your iPhones and simply get those off the AT&T network and share that so you have Wi-Fi access at all times on your iPhones. And having Skype running on them, you'll be able to use your iPhone as a regular Skype phone now. And you won't have to pull out the iPad with the headset to do that, but you'll be able to just simply have the access to the internet and use iPhones as Skype phones and iPads as your Skype desktop device. And it's pretty amazing because with Skype, you're able to be logged in on multiple accounts, multiple places at the same time. You can have Skype open on 2 or 3 different iPhones, an iPad. You can have Skype logged in on your laptops or whatnot. It can be logged in as many places as you want at the same time, which isn't possible really on IM or other services. But with Skype, you're actually able to have multiple phones open at the same time. So you could even, with this, have a landline Skype phone. You could have a regular phone, then you make these, they're cordless phones that connect to your router. And you can have a regular phone that has your Skype number as your number. So you can have unlimited phones for that one fee of the $60 a year for Skype. And you can simply go wild with the number of phones you use for that one data connection. And it's a very exciting time because I think this is just the beginning about what we will see as far as using data for your phone connections and getting rid of the requirements of minutes and that kind of archaic system. I think we're about to see the shakeup of the future of communications. And we also saw earlier this week the announcement from Skype and Verizon that Verizon is actually going to be allowing Skype on many of their phones, including the Droid. And this is pretty exciting because it's just showing the future of where we are headed. The arrangement Skype and Verizon announced is that Skype will run in the background on all their Skype-enabled phones. It will not count against their data usage, which I find very interesting when they make calls out of Skype. So they're able to use Skype in the background, answer calls using Skype. It doesn't even count against their data usage. And this, I think, is just the first instance, the first gleam of hope of what is in the future as far as Skype on mobile devices. And I think in the next 10 years, we will see voice connections go by the wayside, and instead we'll simply have data connections. And the fees hopefully will go down, and you'll simply have a data connection that you use to access everything. Your voice communications, your text communications, email, and the full internet. I think this is the future, and I think this is where we are headed. And I think the iPad, with its low cost for data, is the very first step in enabling that and bringing it to the masses. And I think this is a very, very exciting time and should be a very exciting decade to come. So now the question is, why would anyone want to do this? Why would anyone want to switch out of using AT&T minutes and Verizon minutes to switch over to a Skype solution? And I think the simple answer is cost. I did a cost analysis on this, and this is what gets me most excited, is simply because I believe that phone companies overcharge people to death. I believe they are making a profit and that they are really not being fair in how they price things. I think text message pricing is ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous how it's separate from a data connection. How can you have unlimited data and then charge people an extra $20 for something that takes kilobits of data? Literally nothing. And they charge you out to wazoo to simply have access to text messages. I think that's ridiculous. I think the cost of minutes and all of that is simply getting out of control. And I think that we are being charged way too much. And the price comparison I ran was that of using an iPhone 3G for a year versus an iPad 3G for a year, with the Skype also added into that cost. Now, for an iPhone 3G, which is around $70 a month yearly without text messages, I didn't even add those in. That'd be another $20 or so a month. But for simply the bare bones 3G iPhone data and voice and all that, it came up to around $840 yearly. Now, this is without tax, without anything else like that. And so that's about $840 a year yearly versus using an iPad with Skype at $426 yearly. Now, that is much less, half less. It's drastically less. It's only $30 a month and then $60 a year. It's incredible, the price difference. This is just so compelling for most people who are scratching their heads on how to save money, how to not waste money, how to be smart about how they spend their money. And I think this is the most compelling thing of all. Because with Skype and Google Voice, you have unlimited text messaging, no extra cost. You have unlimited voice. The only thing you're paying for is data. And I think that is just incredible. And another thing I think people should be looking into with the iPad coming out is a way to transport that iPad with you. So it's with you at all times if you want to be. So you could be using the iPad as your sole device for your phone. You don't need to buy an iPhone. You don't need to buy smaller devices if you don't want to. And one company I'd look into recommending is the Scotty Vest company. They make a wide variety of products that are technology-enabled clothing. And I got one of these jackets in the other day. It's the Scotty Vest basic travel jacket. And this jacket actually has a pocket that fits the iPad. So you'll be able to walk around with the iPad with you at all times, and it won't be a cumbersome thing to do. And they called it technology-enabled clothing because they have it so you can wire your devices up however you want. They've got wiring that you're able to have headphones inside the liner so it's not visible, it's not in your way. You can simply have wiring throughout the coat. So you can have a headset that wires down to that pocket where the iPad sits. You could have power actually running through that same system. You could have a big battery in one pocket that powers your devices as you're around and about, so you don't have to worry about power usage. And the great thing of all is the pockets are all weight balanced, so you don't feel anything. It doesn't feel really weird to be walking around with all your gadgets. And another thing that's cool is they're non-bulge pockets. They're designed very smartly, so you won't see any objects from the outside. And in my testing, this is pretty good depending on what you're carrying around. And so far using the jacket, I've been very impressed by the pockets and how they all work. And I'd really recommend getting at least one Scotty Vest jacket that supports the iPad, so you have a way to travel with the iPad in an easy way. So that is the vision of the iPad, iPhone. I think it's an incredible thing to think about switching over from all the cost people use on cell phone minutes and all of that to a lower cost solution that may work perfectly fine for most people. Most people, I don't believe, need all of those niceties that perhaps cell phone companies provide. I think Skype is a great solution for many to make calls to people. And I think with Google Voice, it is an awesome solution that anybody can use simply and easily. And I think we are on the beginning of a new revolution in how we communicate with people. I think in the next 10 years, we'll be using this Skype solution or a similar solution, and I think everyone will be doing it that way. I think this is the vision of the future, and I think with the iPad and its low cost for data, we're just seeing the beginning of a new revolution. So that's my vision of the iPad, iPhone. I would like to thank everyone for listening to this show, and I would love to hear your comments, both audio and text. If you could email me those comments at ipadpossibilities@gmail.com, that would be fantastic. If you leave audio and I find it suitable, I think we could put some of that on the show as well. And you can find this show on iTunes by searching iPad Possibilities. You can find me on Facebook by searching iPad Possibilities. There is a fan group out there for that. And the website is ipadpossibilities.com. And as always, please just send your feedback, positive or negative. I'd love to hear from you. Write those reviews on iTunes and just let me know what you think, what topics you'd like to hear covered in the future. And if you have a cool use case, I'd love to hear those comments. Send those in. And I'm just really excited about this podcast and the future of the iPad and what it implies for different markets and just general users. So thanks for listening. And this is the iPad Possibilities Podcast. Have a great day.